the Coen brothers' newest film, Hail Caesar, coming out this Friday, I thought I'd review not only one of my favorite films of theirs, but one of my favorite movies of all time, Fargo. And just in case you haven't seen Fargo, there will be no spoilers in this review. I will be talking about some characters in depth, but nothing that will ruin the movie for you if you have not seen it. The film is about Jerry Lundegaard, played by William H. Macy, who, to try and solve his financial problems, has two men kidnap his wife so they can split the ransom from his father-in-law. And yeah, it goes about as smoothly as you'd expect a plan like that to. Now, this film can be viewed as a straight crime thriller, and to be honest, the first time I saw it, that is mainly how I interpreted it, albeit a little quirky. But this film is first and foremost a comedy, and when you watch it that way is when this film truly shines. For me, the characters and their interactions with each other is what is at the heart of this film, and what makes it so funny. Let's start with the main character, Jerry Lundegaard, who has his 50s TV dad exterior, and from first glance he really reminded me of George Parker, the father in the movie Pleasantville, who was also played by Macy. He uses terms like heck when he gets mad, and even when he gets frustrated, he has this stupid friendly grin on his face. And I find this contrasts perfectly with who he actually is. A car salesman who swindles both his clients and the bank, and decides to have his wife kidnapped to save his financial problems. Now, the reason the Coen brothers painted him and many other characters this way is because the film takes place in Minnesota, and there is this term, Minnesota nice, which is a stereotypical behavior of people born and raised in Minnesota, to be well-mannered and reserved. These people are the most repressed, and therefore the most violent. As a Canadian, this film really reminded me of how people view us. And yeah, I have said sorry to people who have bumped into me numerous times, and I really don't know why. This friendly exterior that many people have contrasts so well with the film's ridiculous and kind of morbid plot, and that is what makes this film so hilarious. And I gotta say, Macy was born to play this role, and he actually auditioned numerous times because they originally wanted someone else. And boy am I glad he eventually got it. He plays his character perfectly, and even with his friendly exterior, through small gestures you can see his frustration levels rise, and they pick the perfect moments for him to have small outbursts. Our main protagonist is the sheriff, Marge Gunderson, played by Frances McDormand, who actually won an Oscar for this role. And if you think having a female as a sheriff was kind of progressive for the mid-90s, let me add the fact that she is 7 months pregnant. And what I love most about this film is that it does not use her shortcomings as a means for humor. She is actually the most competent character in this entire film, and does most of the investigation by herself. On top of that, she has a husband, Norm, who stays at home, paints ducks for a living, and is totally supportive of her. Norm and Marge are really the audience's safe place in this pretty bleak story, and that is a rarity for a Coen brothers film. McDormand was again perfect in this role, and even though she is 7 months pregnant, you really feel like she knows what she is doing. And her interactions with everyone is so freaking priceless. There is this one scene where Marge is interviewing these two hookers, and she, like Jerry, has this Minnesota nice exterior. So to watch her interact with those two is so funny and ridiculously awkward, and really, McDormand only uses her eyes to show how uncomfortable she is, and it works so well. Finally, we have the two kidnappers, Carl, played by Steve Buscemi, and Gare, played by Peter Stormare. Again, these two interacting with each other is so funny, and their contrasts are perfect. One is skinny, talkative, and funny looking, and the other is big, stern, and has barely any dialogue. And really, the scenes with the two of them just talking in the car are some of the film's best. On top of that, and without going into too much detail, they are terrible kidnappers. And as the film progresses and things get more and more crazy, it is so amusing to watch how they handle things, and it is not at all logical. The cinematography is superb by the great Roger Deakins, and I actually watched the film with his commentary, and it was really interesting. One of the things he said is that they want this film to have a sense of being extremely bleak, which is one of the main reasons why it was shot in winter. Of course, this was one of the warmest winters ever in Minnesota, and they had to keep changing locations as far as North Dakota, because the snow kept melting, and in some scenes they had to create their own snow. To also add to this film's tone, they shot almost every outdoor scene overcast, and it really gives this film more of a bland and somber feel. The way that this film was shot was very reserved and observational, and it really gives you the sense that you are watching these people's lives from afar. There are some really beautiful wide shots, and a couple scenes that are filmed all in one shot, and that really helps slow the film down and allows you to absorb this ridiculous plot. I also really love the score. It fits so well with the film and really elevates the more suspenseful scenes. At times it has this winter wonderland feel, which really fits well with the film's setting. and at other times it's kind of folky, which really helps the small town feel that they were going for. And that is another part of this film that I love. I grew up in a small town, and I can honestly say these people depicted that feel extremely well. Everyone either knows or knows of each other, and just the way that they talk to each other is extremely realistic. And watching this film really reminds me of my hometown. Well, minus the kidnapping. I really only have one small negative with this film, and it is the scene where Marge meets her old high school friend Mike. It has no relevance to the plot and could have been taken out of the film entirely. But it is so funny, entertaining, and awkward, and fits really well with the film's tone, so for me it works, and it does not bother me that it's kind of irrelevant. Fargo is one of my favorite movies ever, and I think it encapsulates the Coen brothers' directing style perfectly. I, of course, am going to give Fargo an A+. If you have not seen the film, please check it out, as you are in for an absolute treat. And if you have seen the film, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please click here to see more.